Hey guys, Ben Labadie here, and I'm with Henry Svec, and this is Business
Okay.
Entrepreneur Weekly. And we got quite a show that we want to talk about, lots to talk about. And you actually mentioned it earlier this morning. I read some articles about it, and that's about working remotely. But before we get into that, Henry, how are you doing?
Fantastic. I've just been learning so much. I work with an entrepreneur who introduced me to Instagram. Have you heard of Instagram, Ben?
I have heard of Instagram, yes.
I'm starting to learn the kinks. So at Wildflower Bee Farm, I have an Instagram account now. So when I do my daily studies of the bees, I'll take pictures and throw stuff up there and just try to work through, educate people on what's happening. So it's like starting school in kindergarten. Like it's amazing and it's fun. And I'm making every mistake probably known. I don't know, but I think we're just started 2 days ago, so I'm just getting started with it. So that's what's new. Plus, on Wednesday at the farm, the craftsmen, I'm picking up my log hives that have been made out of wood logs. Like they cut down, they had some old trees, and they made actual hogs. They made log hives, and on the top we have the bars so the bees can make their honey. And they're going to be put in trees. We're going to screw them into trees so the bees, when they swarm, will go and make homes. They'll have little homes for them and everything. So, and also a technology thing we're going to do where we're going to be able to have these this one little tiny sensor sort of in the roof away from the bees that'll tell us everything about their health without opening the beehive.
Very cool.
Aren't you sad you asked me? Because I could talk forever about this. It's been a lot of fun. Plus the usual work in the office and stuff.
Yeah. So, very interesting thing. I want to know, people watching, are you working from home or where are you working from since COVID started? And as we go into the future, where will you be working? Because this is a hot topic that's going to be affecting so many people in, I don't know, good ways or balanced ways or, reduced income. I don't know. Give us your thoughts on this.
Well, we talked today about something that Facebook is doing. I think you want to talk about that, right? So Facebook is saying, okay, the employees apparently have to declare at Facebook if they're going to work from home or go into the office. And if they're going to work from home, Facebook wants to know what city you live in. So let's say I normally work in Toronto, but I'm going to decide to work from home from Thunder Bay. So what Facebook is now doing is, okay, Henry, if you want to work for Thunder, you can work from Thunder Bay the rest of your life, but the cost of living in Thunder Bay is a lot less than Toronto. So instead of paying you $85,000 in Toronto, we're going to pay you $51,000 in Thunder Bay because the cost of living, we have this new algorithm and you just type it in and it'll tell you how much the rent is and the cost of living and so on. So we're going to pay you $51,000 to work in Thunder Bay from home, or you can come into the office and make, say, $85,000 in Toronto. Mm-hmm. So the value of work is the way you price work is going to change.
Now, how do you think this is going to affect people? Are they going to want to take a reduced income to have a different, I guess, a life change, maybe go back to where, their hometown? Definitely an opportunity for people like to do that, I believe. But yeah, once they factor in, I know when I read the Facebook article there about Zuckerberg's town hall, I mean, they got 48,000 employees.
Yeah.
And they're putting in, so that they know exactly where you're working from. Right. So instead of going, saying that you're working in Toronto and having their address there, it's where you log in. So they want to prove it.
So I think there's all kinds of levels to this, right? Because you're asking about, first of all, it's so you have a better quality of life, you can work from home, but the real reason is we don't need as much office space, we don't need as much support for you. And plus, if we can pay you less and encourage you to move to a cheaper community, we're going to save money because we're still getting the same supposed outcome. Now, I'm not sure about that because people do like to be social, but if that's possible, I think there's other reasons for it. But you wonder about abroad, if that goes out to work everywhere, like say government, if we're hurting for tax dollars and someone's going to be working in Chatham-Kent, should a person in Chatham-Kent working for the city of Chatham from home make the same money as a person in the same position in Toronto?
Right.
Because we don't usually value it that way. We value it based on the skills and what they could earn elsewhere. So I think it might turn things around a little bit in the work world.
Are they going to run into some legal problems?
Well, that's a lawyer question, but I would imagine because, I mean, how do you deal with, you have to have equal work for, equal pay for equal work. So if you're doing the same job as someone, I would imagine you could argue. regardless of where I'm doing it from, should I not be compensated the same? Because the value I'm bringing to you, the company, you're
Right.
making more money on me because, and plus add to that, not just a less salary, but you're not office, you're not having to do this and that. And then they could come back and say, well, could I sign an agreement if I agree? Let's say I agree to work at Thunder Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Am I able to do that legally? Agree.
Right.
Because sometimes you can't do that. You can't agree to violate any law. So I don't really know. I don't know how Facebook, I mean, they're big. They'll probably do it somehow.
Yeah, because I see a bunch of problems. I mean, if you're worth something, a certain dollar amount,
Yeah.
and then you're providing one service. You're providing the work that you were asked to do for that amount.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't really matter where you're doing it from. I mean, they're getting the same value
Same
from
service.
that employee.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see this sort of ripple effect, right, in those businesses where that's possible. And then you have a whole sector where you can't work from home. There's just no
Right.
way. You have to go into the office or you have to go into work. It's interesting to see how many people now are going into the office as they start up the economy. That people always seem to want to do that. What do you think about that? Think they're sick of being at home?
I think they're sick of being at home, but I see a lot of people that are suddenly liking the new life. I mean, you get to sit at home,
Yeah.
you get to do your work. They're probably working harder to get the work that they would normally do in a day done,
Mm-hmm.
so they have more kind of balanced rest time.
Right.
You know,
Well, we're seeing. Go ahead, sorry.
the only problem that I think some people face is that when you're at home, when you work from home, for example, if you're a real estate agent and you're working from home, or any other home business, or sales that you do a lot from home, you know, that family doesn't really understand it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you when you're home, you're home. That's what sometimes the people that are not working feel, so that you can do this, this, and this while you're home instead of the work that you might have been, you know, supposed to be doing. So there's that balance. I think that the family, whoever the family is, if you have a family, that's going to have I think may have trouble with working at home. That's
But
the
if
only thing.
people are back at schools, if people are working from home but their children aren't there, you think that'll change productivity or focus or that whole issue you just brought up? So the kids are all at school and you're at home working alone in your office. It might be different.
Yeah, like I like the idea of working at home. That's easy for me. I think I'm more productive that way.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of other people, they like to have the people around them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they're more productive that way. So I think it's a balance. I think if you are working from home, this is just my thinking. If I'm working for somebody else and I'm working from home, I'm probably more likely to show my worth of trying to keep up and make sure I'm demonstrating I'm getting the job done,
Mm-hmm. But
right?
you're not
Maybe,
running into the boss. You're not connecting with people. You're not doing the same kind of, we were talking about that today about how often when I go in the office, I just go in and grind. I'm there really early. I shut the door. I just do it. I do the minimal social stuff because I'm always going. But a lot of people don't work like that. They work better when they start the morning with a relaxing coffee. They talk about their weekend. I just never got into that. So I'm a bad example, I think, of that. But many people need that to be incredibly productive. So I think it's going to depend on the person. I don't know how Facebook's going to figure that out.
yeah.
And most people figure it's going to be more monitoring. Facebook's going to make more money, and it's really not in the best interest of the employee. So I don't know. I just found to me, it was incredible. The value of work seems to be changing all of a sudden. So it's not just what you produce, because then remember, if anybody can do this from home, anybody can do your job then. So perhaps someone in northern British Columbia or northern Saskatchewan who really needs a job will say, you know what, I'll do that job for $30,000 a year. Henry wants 50, I'll do it for 30. And then what happens? Is it going to be like a website where they're going to auction jobs and people with the lowest number get it? I mean, I don't know. It's going to it could change the whole work.
Well, when you look at it, there's so many ways to hire somebody from another country for not close to as much.
Mm-hmm.
You hire web designers, app designers, digital assistants, somebody to answer the phone. I mean, you can hire somebody for $20 a day to take calls. A phone gets shifted over to a different number. They answer it, and they're your digital assistant from wherever for pennies of what they would get paid here. But they're doing it from India and many other places.
I'm not sure we've done a good job of defining quality of life for us in our community. I think that's one selling point people mention quality of life, but what does that mean Monday to Monday? So when we say we have a higher quality of life here in our community, to promote business and to bring people in, what does that really mean on a day-to-day basis as far as the difference between here and Toronto? Because they will come up with, restaurants, and you got the
Right.
Raptors, you got all. What do we have that brings us to high quality life?
Well, you're basically selling the quality of life you can provide to the right people, of course. So Toronto's easy sell. You have everything there, but you also have your drawbacks of, man, it takes me forever to do things. It costs so much more to do things, but they're readily available. What I think Chatham-Kent can provide is access to water. We do have access to beaches. We have the warmest climate. We are the most southern area of Canada. We are Canada's Florida. So if you're looking at retirement, and this, even though people will be working, they could have their forever home at 40. They can start thinking about that because we have the best climate, pretty much. So you can sell that. It's a slower pace. I mean, if like I know you talk about it and I talk about it, if we could make more farmland available to build, houses. I mean, that's what everybody wants. Everybody, and they're going to want that more in the future. As things like COVID start scaring people. So another thing that Chatham-Kent has to offer is a less dense population, and we have the most land out of all municipalities. We're bigger landmass in the Greater Toronto area, pretty much. So we're bigger than that. We have less people, which equals safer. And you can actually point out that our rate of COVID. I mean, so these become selling things that you can put in the toolbox to start pitching why Chatham-Kent is such a great area to live and our lower cost of living. So when it comes to entertainment obstacles Toronto has this, and this all the time. Well, we have access to the border. We have access to, well, not right now, of course, but London, Windsor, Sarnia, all these things around us. And if you do want Toronto, it's a 2.5-hour drive, or you take the train. So we do have all that, and we can sell that and pitch that from Chatham-Kent. Yeah, I think. And there's many other things that you can, toss out there that are quality of life. But I think people do like an easier pace. I do believe that they like being able to get to where they want to go and get there quick rather than, the traffic. And I think people want that. They want it slower. They don't want to be busy. They don't want to be stressed. And after this whole situation with COVID, I think people are being, even though they're being more patient, they want that slowed down, less populated feel, and they'll feel safer. People are now going to feel safer with less people around.
Well, what do you think about, though? But we can't build on all that land. It's
Well,
great to have the land, Ben, but you can't build on it.
yeah, it is great to have land, and I think, the climate will like as the world changes and everything becomes different a little bit. I think we're going to have to figure it out. Our local politicians are going to just have to figure it out.
What do you think about immigration? How do we get more people? Because we don't, we talk about schools closing and less children. And what's our barrier, you think, to immigration? I look at other communities where there's all kinds of that. Different. I know now we're restricted with borders and COVID, but is that something you think we need for business in our community?
I think the key point, especially Chatham-Kent, we need more immigration. And
what's stopping it? Because back when my parents came here, there was a Czech community. So they were told, I think, in Montreal that if they wanted to be with some Czech people, they should come to Blenheim. And I think the Italian community, relatives, there were different Dutch communities. People came at certain time periods through immigration because of the communities were able to be here. Why don't we have that? I don't know. I'm just asking. Why don't we have that going on now for different cultures?
Well, I don't think it's promoted. I mean, if you go to Toronto, you have every area is a different area and would seem more welcoming. But I think that all takes time. I really do. I think that's just time. And, as we become a more diverse community, those communities kind of build up and then become more welcoming. But I think right now is, we have to get on top of trying to get that lower cost of living down and almost get some employment opportunities up, because people go where the jobs are. I mean, people want to go where the jobs are. And Chatham-Kent's not necessarily that place right now to get people, to encourage them to come here, right? So
How do
that's
you think we're doing with COVID in business? Where you've been out in businesses? What do you think's going on with COVID in businesses?
well. I've been out to some restaurants. I've been out to. I got my hair cut. I think when businesses are allowed to be open, they're doing well. Okay, I think they're doing well. Restaurants that I have, been at have been full, right, for the most part. However, right now, because it's outdoor, it kind of relies on weather, you know. So you're banking on weather to be perfect. If it's cold, if it's rainy, I mean, you're not getting anybody. But I think when businesses are allowed to open, people do go back to normal, and you almost feel normalcy if you go out for a day.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a
but
great feeling, eh? When you don't have to listen to news or anything, you just get out there and just do it.
and I've been listening to less and less news, and I think I'm a happier person and less concerned person anyway, because not everything's scaring me here. I like this here. I work from home, became a teacher, but I don't get paid. A lot of people became teachers over the last little
Yeah.
while.
You know what? I
Uh,
wondered. You know what? I have to ask, and this is just the way I asked. The amount of money per day that we pay to educate kids. How come some of that didn't go to parents? Is that a bad question? If I get in trouble for that, because you're homeschooling and you got some resources, but you were probably spending more time. You may even had to get a laptop, whatever. But you're teaching your children,
yeah.
and I think is it 10 grand or 12 grand a year to teach a child in Ontario? I don't even know what it is.
I do not know, but you do have kind of a point. If you think about, if you go back a little bit, they put
Mhm.
out when the teachers went on strike, the government put out, a $25 to $65 a day per kid that wasn't in school, that
Oh,
was out of school. So for all the days that there was a strike, I
oh, for the
mean,
strike. I'm sorry, not
yeah,
COVID. Oh,
okay,
okay.
I'm going back to the strike, but you could almost apply that to COVID in a way, because you are taking those days and you are teaching when somebody else isn't teaching. But they did do online course, like they did do online teaching, and I believe the teachers had to be available to answer questions and such. So
Yeah, I'm not saying you take it away
yeah,
from the teachers. I'm just saying that even a tax deduction for the parents or something, because people have been really economically, hit by this, right?
yes,
So, so I,
absolutely.
so I think, and nothing is long term. Did you notice everything's sort of short term? And I heard an interesting interview with the owner of Indigo Books, and she talked about Kohl's books and how they're closing all these stores. And her concern was a 2 to 4 year plan to get back to where we were before COVID. 2 to 4 years, because she said she had to close 20 of her bookstores in smaller communities. And she said, even though you can buy books online, the margins aren't as great and it doesn't create a lot of jobs. So her
Right.
concern was all the people that were going to be losing jobs in those industries that we don't even talk about yet.
You know, when
And
when
that's
when
coming. Sorry.
yeah, when you look at retail, how many retail jobs are going to be lost? Even Starbucks, the chain Starbucks, I mean, they were talking about closing 200 Canadian stores. I
Hmm.
mean, those are all things that are actually, they haven't hit us yet, I don't believe,
No, no.
right? And many stores are trying to figure out how to reduce for the future. And I know I've seen even restaurants that have gone back to work. Some of their employees didn't come back because they're getting paid from the government pretty much the same. And so they're planning different ways to probably reduce staff. What can they do to reduce staff going forward and still get the same kind of value? I like Randy here. Do you think Toronto people actually fully see all the things in the city, or keep going to the same places all the time? So do they get the full value of what the big city of Toronto kind of offers? Do they go to all the restaurants? Do they go to all the venues? Do they go to all the festivals? Do they do all that stuff? Or are they, kind of in, that's with every city. I find myself I try to spread it out, but you go to your favorite spots and you don't fully see your entire community.
Well, I don't know, Randy, because I'm not a big city guy. I'm a small town guy. I get scared every time I go. I take the train in and I get out. So I don't know, but I think there's segments in any population that enjoy certain things. And I think Toronto has a target for everything. Doesn't matter what you want to do. Before COVID, you could find a place to do it. And I think that's probably what happens there. But I think when we talked earlier about quality of life, to me, it's also in our community, you have lack of access to spend. You can save money in our communities because you're not going to the Raptors, you're not going out to expensive places unless you can certainly do that if you want. But it really does our community lends itself to more, as you say, slow pace. But you're not spending the money you would spend in a place like Toronto.
Right.
And the pace is different. I mean, you can really, really see it here, that there's a slower pace and it is more relaxing. And I can tell you a couple of things. When we used to have a place in Collingwood, it changed because it was a very kind of sleepy place. And then it became almost a Toronto commuting. There were people living in Collingwood who would commute twice or three times a week to Toronto to work. And the pace in that place where we lived became like Toronto. Cars were zooming in and out. No one said hello. You'd say hello, they'd put their heads on. I'm not saying Toronto people are all like it. I'm just saying it was a very big city kind of place and I ended up getting out of there. But I think it can really change when you go to a small town. I think we need to really operationalize it more. What does it mean to live here for quality life? I think part of it is access to. I only shoveled snow twice last year. That's all you got to say for someone in Toronto or up north. Twice. I had 2 pushes last year.
Yeah, and that's what I talk about, our location geographically. I mean, we are Canada's Florida. We really are. So it's a matter of, we still got to sell that. And I do believe, as I guess, like I said before, time, and as these communities build, they want more things, and those things are created out of the need of the community. So maybe more people come in, they want a certain type of food. All of a sudden we open a restaurant, a restaurant for that food is open, right? That's how it kind of works. But we do have to promote, we do have to get the people to create that situation, to create that business. Do you know what I mean?
I was grinding pretty hard on what could government do to help us locally, because there's federal, there's provincial, and local. And there's a couple of things I wanted to ask you about. One of the ideas I had was why some communities have done this, where they take all the downtowns and they declare them economic development areas, and they give them benefits. For example, one idea is that if you as a citizen purchase products or services from a local business, small local business, you can deduct up to $1,500 a year from your property taxes. Mm-hmm. And it would be very easily done. It wouldn't be that difficult, but it would have to be from a non-chain small operator. So you couldn't do it from Walmart. You'd have to go to a local store. That would take a lot of courage. But if we don't do something long-term for our downtowns, whether it's even Chatham, but certainly in where I live in Blenheim or Ridgetown or all the small towns, we're going to have a problem in the next few months, because we're going to see things changing. And I think there is a responsibility of local government to do something about that. Not just, I know recently there was a token. Was it $1,000? How much did they give local businesses, Ben?
I don't know. I don't.
I think it was a total of $200,000 to be distributed to all the local small businesses. And then we had to work hard to find that $200,000 after we built a $4 million garage and all that other crazy stuff. So here's the thing: we don't have a sustainable environment. We talked about the building in the country. How are we going to get that going? So we need, and we're going in 2 or 4 months we're going to have to worry about this, I think, a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And I think getting on top of it yesterday is probably in developing a plan. I mean, and I've always felt that Chatham-Kent hasn't marketed itself well to outside of Chatham-Kent. I really don't think we have, or else we'd already be a little bit further ahead. And when you're driving through a lot of people are driving by Chatham-Kent. So many people take that 401 and they constantly drive by. There's no, it doesn't seem like anything for the 65 kilometers that we have of 401.
Yeah.
It's hard to really be captivated by anything or drawn in by anything. So there's a lot of things I believe that need to happen to kind of promote Chatham-Kent, and I believe, economic development and tourism have to get creative take some chances.
What's the responsibility of small business without government to do it, though? Why aren't we doing it more ourselves? Why are we relying on government to do it? That's my question.
That's a good question, and I do believe some small business do attempt to do that. With small business like restaurants and that, a lot of it is you're trying to get the business that's already in town, right? You're doing what you can to market locally to get people that are already there to come, and a lot of what a municipality, I believe the marketing and tourism departments and economic development is to kind of promote Chatham as a whole of what we have and get them to, I mean, not everybody can go throw up signs on the 401. It's very difficult, but I think as a municipality, we have to do more to draw people in so that they spend their money at our places so that our places can afford to pay the higher tax rate that they usually pay for commercial property. I mean, things like that. I mean, the marketing and the promotion of the municipality itself.
What do you think about Windsor's decision to not open?
I think it's bad for them. I think it's good for us. And you could look at it two ways. So there's the negative way. In both ways of looking at it, I believe are correct, of people in Windsor wanting to come to Chatham or Chatham, Kent, to get their nails done, hair done, go to a bar, go to a restaurant, do that. And there is a risk of them having COVID and spreading it here. So I understand that angle, right? So I can see somebody's fear of being close to a hotspot. Now, on the other side, being the person that I am, I'd maximize it. I'd be having some advertising in the Windsor area saying, hey, listen, you can't spend money there, but I do want your money. Bring it here. And we got great service. Be safe. Bring a mask if you need to. If you are from another area, you can just, if you're not from Chatham, Kent, please wear a mask, right? You can have a sign. I think that's not doing anything bad. It's not judging anybody. I think it's if you're not from our municipality, please wear a mask to make yourself a little bit more. That's just for the business to have that more responsible way of going about it. But I think there's a great opportunity of a bunch of people that need to spend money and want to spend money going somewhere to spend it. They should be spending it here.
What do you think we're back as far as 100% would be pre-COVID? What percent back do you think we are, from a buying perspective and also business perspective in our community here?
I think we're barely even 50 because the confidence isn't there. As long as they're not fully open, until we say everything's fully open, most people aren't going to feel, many people, I'm not going to say most, let's just say many people aren't going to feel comfortable to go out and spend the money. People are comfortable. A lot of people are, but a lot of people are waiting to say, you know what? I'm going to wait till it's fully safe, or they feel safer to go out. And until that happens, we're not going to be at 100%. I don't believe.
Do we have any job statistics for our community? How many are unemployed because of COVID, or that hasn't? I have not seen any of that.
I don't believe we've seen local. I don't know if they have it. Local statistics just yet, but I do know there has been a lot of people out of work, but a lot of people are going back to work that I have kind of been seeing. So that's kind of good.
Becky's mentioning the second SEBA, but has that been fully announced? Because it was supposed to happen in May, but it's on Friday, but it's not up there yet. They delayed it again. Have you, Becky? Is that now available? Because a number of people have asked me about that.
That is a good question.
That's the one, by the way, where you don't have to have employees. If you're
right
running a business, you can do that.
Now,
go ahead, sir.
That's one that you have to pay back, but interest free.
Well, you pay it back, but there's a 10,000 grant with that, so you pay back 30,000.
Okay.
And it's interest free till I think it's December 2022. And that's an example of an infrastructure thing to help small business. So a small business person who has a plan for the next 2 years. And I like the idea of being 2 years because I think it's going to take that long for some businesses to continue to move forward.
So she says the banks are in charge, so they're the ones that are behind.
Yeah, yeah, they're all not. I don't know. Maybe Becky, your bank is, but I know we've checked a number of them and they're not up yet. So that's discouraging.
Second restaurant just opened in Bothwell. I hear some clothing stores are opening. A bunch of new houses being built. Things are going good there, I think.
That's great. That's
That
great.
is good. And I had a lot for sale out in Merlin the
Yeah, you
other.
told me about that lot. What happened? That was exciting.
Well, it's got an accepted offer on it and everything. Looks good. But the amount of calls I got for that lot, because it is out
Yep.
in Merlin, and there's nothing around, and just call after call. It was exciting.
What was it listed for? What did you? Don't tell me.
40.
You can't. What was it
It,
listed?
it was listed for 49.9.
And how much of a lot was it?
Uh, very like 0.9 of an acre. It's
Wow.
it's almost a full acre.
And you could build a house legally, or could you build a duplex, or just a house?
There's a couple options, but it looks like a house. Maybe looked at for the design. So yeah, but you see that, and people want that stuff, and it's exciting, really. Where
Well,
a
on a
couple of
Canada,
years ago, it would have sat there.
well, on a Canada base, I can tell you on the East Coast, things are rocking. We're going to build again. We've got some things going on. And the other interesting thing about student housing, which is amazing, we don't have properties for students in Halifax. We have other properties, but not for students. In Halifax, even though they're online only in the fall, the students want to come and live in res because they don't want to live at home.
Mm-hmm.
So students want to come to university, even though they're not going to class. They want to get out of the house and start living their lives. So you're seeing behavior that people wouldn't have thought was possible.
Yeah.
Of different, realities of what they're really getting when they go to university. And I still wonder about Ridgetown College in our community, University of Guelph in Ridgetown, why that can't be more of a driver. Because any other community, whether it's Brantford when they brought Laurier, and we used to look at Brantford for student properties, whether it's Waterloo and Laurier, when you look at those kinds of things, when universities are in small towns, have you been to Brantford around the university there?
I have well, yeah, a couple times, but I
And
wouldn't
what
say
they
I
did
know
to
too
upgrade
much.
their community and the coffee shops and what they did and bought money. And I'm just amazed that hasn't happened in Ridgetown.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Another store closing in the mall. Cleo, Ricky, done July 16th. Yeah, a lot of retail are
Malls are tough.
getting hit.
Yeah, malls have been tough before COVID, right? So it's a difficult market right now for malls.
My brother just said, "Yeah, I just got home from work." Ben, try not to laugh. Let's see here. Heather says you don't see near as many TOD signs, tourist opportunity directory, on the 401 or highways anymore. And the ones here's one obstacle that I don't know if it's a great investment to have a sign on the 401. So I've looked at some of the signs, and if the people knew how far away from the 401 that business is, that restaurant is, it might be a little bit, discouraging as they go 15 more kilometers from the 401. So I don't know if those have the greatest value of just specific, like a business specifically buying one there, or having that tourist directory sign, because you can get them, but maybe you don't see them because there's not as much value. But I think what we need is a billboard about, more of why you should be pulling in and how far it is into town. Like good stuff, 10 kilometers this way. So that's interesting.
Are we back at school in the fall, Ben? Do you think?
I believe we are. We should anyway. They're probably going to roll out some different ways of doing it. I know they were thinking about alternating days, half and half. I don't know how well that would go.
Did you say you're itching to go to the States to run a marathon? Did I read that somewhere?
Well, they're that was today.
What's going on, Ben?
Well, it'll be, I think, possibly the first actual marathon put on in the States since everything happened, and it's in Fargo, North Dakota.
Fargo.
And I was looking at it, and I was thinking, I don't think I'd ever go to Fargo or think about it. However, this is an opportunity to use this as an excuse to go to a different area. They get about 10,000 people to that race per year. They'll probably, I believe, get a couple more this year if it's the only game in town. You know what I mean?
Is it
But I think
flat?
it's
Is it a flat terrain or is it mountains? What's Fargo like? I don't even know my geography. What's it like?
if I were to have to be in a situation where I had to bet, I'd go flat because you go through Chicago, Minnesota, and I think Fargo is up right beside on the border of Minnesota in North Dakota. Okay, I believe that's kind of I mapped it out. It's 1,700 kilometers, I think, or 1,400 kilometers from my house.
Yeah, I forgot. Are
So
you doing pizza tonight? I forgot to ask you. Are you doing pizza?
I tell you what, do you know what we're gonna do?
What?
We're gonna
I
do
didn't know. Are
pizza.
you doing a pizza?
We totally forgot about it. Hey guys, if you're watching and you want a chance to win a pound of wings and a large pizza from Constantino's, throw some comments in the comment section and hit that share button. We'd greatly appreciate that. And you have a shot at winning a pound of wings and a large pizza. So all you have to do is make a comment in the comment section. We'd appreciate you also hit that share button if you want to. And that would be greatly appreciated. So yeah, we are doing that, Henry. We are giving away a pound of wings and a large pizza from Constantino's.
Sounds great. This
Always
is
fun.
great pizza and wings weather too, right? It's hot.
It is great pizza and wings weather. Although it's always kind of pizza and wings weather, I find.
How was your Father's Day?
Father's Day was great. Went to Mitchell's Bay with my girl. I had a massive bike ride last night with my boy. So it was really good. And my dad, we hung out with him and fun stuff.
How's he feeling? He's doing okay. Everything's good.
He's feeling good. He's
Fantastic.
feeling really good. So
That's great.
and I think he had a doctor visit, and he walked out of that visit feeling like super confident. Right.
Awesome.
So he is he's feeling like he wants to go to Las Vegas, Nevada. I'll tell you that. So he's excited.
Good for him. That's outstanding. That's outstanding.
Yeah. So that's always good. So and it's good. And there's my mom. My mom just popped on. Totally missed all that.
Hi, Margaret. Good evening.
So let's see here. What else do we got? Assuming it can be fixed. Not sure if it can. How would you fix the mall? Interesting. Have you been to the downtown Chatham Mall, Henry, in a while?
I have been not that long ago.
And I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, you really have to get creative. Do you go about tracking more retail? Do you make it office, even though people are going to be working from home? I mean, they're getting hit from all sides here. Malls, I think, are going to be pretty tough, especially in a Chatham Kent. Do you restaurant it out? What do you do?
Well, I think in London they tried to bring in St. Clair College, or not St. Clair, sorry, Fanshawe. They brought in the college, and that brought in students, and that brought in more people, and that made more need for businesses and so on. So it seems like now the trend is if you can do that, you have a chance. Turning them into office buildings goes away from what you said. I think weren't we going to do that in Chatham? Whatever happened to that? Were we not going to bring? I know there was something with the theater. Forget that. But wasn't there something about bringing the college downtown, or was that something I'm confused?
I think that was some chat, but I really don't. I don't know.
So that's what I would do. I mean, if I was in business or had owned that mall, I would try to bring in another concept, because the malls across the world, unless you're a really super large mall in a very large city, like a lot of us have been to the West Edmonton Mall, where they have a skating rink and I think all kinds of things. Most malls aren't like that. So the small community malls are having a very difficult time to attract retailers and stay going. So I would prefer that model where you bring in students, you bring in some energy, and then you have businesses to help take care of those folks.
I've been there many times. It's flat in Fargo. Randy's been to Fargo. What are the odds of that? Somebody's been there many times. I think he's a Minnesota Vikings fan. Football
not the
fan.
Lions, eh?
Well, he probably likes somebody to win the odd time.
No, thanks a lot, Ben.
Well, I'm a Lions fan too. I'm a Lions fan too because they're close. I have to be a Lions fan. But there's hoping they win and then having to put money on a game, right? And there's totally different things.
Well, we had season tickets for a long time, but after Barry left Sanders, it was downhill. I don't think it's been fun really since Barry was there.
Bothwell needs a dollar store if anyone wants to open one. I think it might be a good sign that they don't have a dollar store and cash stores and stuff like that. Henry, when that condo downtown,
Yeah.
I forget how many units it is. If that opens, let's just say if it opens,
How
do you
many are there,
believe
Ben?
there? I mean, you got 12 floors. You're looking at maybe 10, maybe 120 units, maybe more.
Okay.
Let's ballpark it at that. I don't know specifically, but let's go 120. Plus, they have the retail space downtown, or down main floor commercial space. When that opens, if that fills up, and it will when it opens,
You really think it will now that we're in this?
I I have no doubt in my mind that place will fill up in 2 minutes.
Are they to rent or sell or buy?
I think they're for lease if it ever opens.
What are they leasing for? Do you know?
Do not know. Keep in mind it has to complete.
Oh, it's still not finished. I thought it
It's
was.
not finished, so it's not It's not finished. It was supposed to be finished near the end of 2019. I'm guessing now it's near the end of 2020. Who knows? It'll be the oldest new building ever, I believe, by the
How
time
many
it's
years have
complete.
they been at it?
I gotta say, it's close to 10.
Yeah.
I think it started close to 10 years ago.
Okay, sorry. I keep interrupting. What's your question? Sorry, Ben.
Do you think when that fills up, that the opportunities at the downtown Chatham Center will change?
No.
Not enough people, not enough traffic.
Sorry, is there more to the question? I just think that
No.
unfortunately, no, I'm sorry. I just unfortunately think that 120 people is not going to change, and we don't know the folks that are going to be in. Is it going to be seniors? Is it going to be like? I guess what's the market to rent? Like who are the condos built for?
I believe they were built for the aging population, like seniors. They have an underground parking garage that's actually pretty brilliant, but more retirement, geared to retirement. But now, with the market kind of changing, anybody and everybody is looking for anywhere to rent,
Yeah, well, if it's a
right?
general building, it's not exclusive to a group. I know the 50 plus buildings are popular in Canada where people who are 50 to 75 need a place if it's reasonable because they're going to spend time in other parts. But, I heard today that sales of recreation vehicles are off the map. Like people are buying campers and because they're not going to travel by plane, right? They're going to travel in campers. So if you bought a condo there or rented there, where would you put your RV?
Well, most neighborhoods you can't have an RV just parked out front anyway, right?
In your own house, you can't park an RV?
Well, many restrictions in newer subdivisions where you can't have an RV or camper parked out too long. 3 to 7 days to prepare for a trip, but year round you cannot.
Where are you supposed to put
That's
it?
You're supposed to find a space to place it. Now I don't know how much those restrictions are actually ever enforced, if ever. But there's many restrictions in new subdivisions that you cannot have things sitting out like trailers and
Yeah.
even with a bike on a trailer or a skidoo boat, stuff like that. And they have to have different areas to put them so that it doesn't kind of mess up the look of the entire area, right?
Well, I'm sure there's a need for housing. Like we need more rentals, so I'm sure they'll be filled up quickly. I don't know what the price point. Will it be 1,500? Will it be 1,000? Will it be 2,500? I don't know. Do you have any idea? You have no idea on the pricing.
No idea on the pricing, but it'll probably be more than 1,500.
Well,
I
I
bet.
think part
Yeah.
of the issue is we're really in real estate. We're really seeing some changes that people want to live in communities like ours, even if it's in an apartment building, where they have more space and more opportunities and access to what they need at a lower cost of living, particularly in that 50 to 70 age if they're going to retire. The question is, what is for them downtown? What will be for them after 6 o'clock? Where will they go have dinner, coffee? Will there be amenities for them? Will it be
Mhm.
attractive for that reason?
Yeah.
Because just staying in that, unless they turn it into a complete retirement home where people aren't leaving unless someone's taking them out, is that a model too, or?
That's everything's a possibility. But I think, yeah, you get the only problem that might happen is if they have enough commercial space down there that it doesn't really spread out. If you put all the right stuff there, you don't spread out. That money doesn't walk across the street or down the road. right?
Are
If they
there
make it.
shops already started?
No shops already
in this
started,
condo?
but there's a lot of space down there to do stuff, right?
Yeah,
But you would
I'm
think over
not
a
as
period of time.
optimistic. Yeah, I'm not
No?
as optimistic about malls, particularly because of what I see going on in Canada, and I wouldn't invest in a mall. But
Yeah.
in condos, I think you have to be in a situation where, on a rental basis, renting an apartment, you have to have an advantage. Meaning, why would you want to live in that apartment? What would be the advantage to living in that apartment?
Right. Yeah, but as a realtor, I know for the past few years, people have been asking when are they going to be ready before buying something else that are very, very interested. So to me, the condos, I believe, are going to be either bought or leased, whatever it is. I think it'll be a quick fill. And it's just a matter of does that have an impact on that mall? I'm with you on not being optimistic about malls in general.
Mm.
But I do believe if there's a little bit of lifeline, okay, those condos would be a little bit of that lifeline that the mall could use. Whether it works out, there's not enough people. I don't know, but
I just can't imagine a building project that took 10 years.
it's crazy. So I believe it started before City Center in Las Vegas, and City Center, one of the biggest projects in American history, is built. Before, up for a couple of years now. Let's see here. I think if somebody complains about a trailer in a driveway, the city will come out, and yeah, they will. The city, all you have to do is have somebody complain, and I think that's where the restrictions are driven from in those new
But you're
subdivisions.
not living it. I don't mean you're living it. I just mean you're parking it because it's your property. Like you're not,
Same.
no one's rooming it. You're
It's
not renting it. You're just parked
it,
there.
so here's the issue that people face. So you buy a nice house, it's $500,000. You're in a brand new subdivision. You're happy. Your neighbor has a massive RV. My RV is 30 feet
Mm.
long. Okay. So you go outside every day and you look to your right and there's a big RV parked in the driveway. You can't see down the road at all. Right. So I think that's where the restrictions come in play. Right. Or you don't have to see a beat up truck on the back of a trailer, kind of like a broken down vehicle. Same thing. Those are restrictions as well.
But like across from my mom's, there's a bunch of houses in the morning. They're not Morning Star. It's where the gravel pit was across from my mom's house. And there's a gentleman there who has, I think he's got two or three parked. He's got a beautiful house. House probably, I don't know, 400,000 or 500,000. It's his property. What is it my business to say I don't like him having a trailer? I mean, it's his property. What do I care?
Yeah. And you may not, but others will. And that's the world we live in. So
Wow.
it
Okay.
just
Learn something every
like
night on this show, Ben. When we
I myself wouldn't be a complainer, right? But I can see where people would be.
okay, so
Like
they have to find
I've
another
actually
place to rent
seen
it.
people complain. So
So they have to go find a place to rent. They have to rent a space to go leave their vehicle.
absolutely, yeah,
Okay.
yep.
Wow. Can you have
So
chickens in your backyard?
no, you can't have chicken. You know what?
What
I tell
about
you what.
bees? Have they outlawed bees too, Ben?
I don't know, but I tell you what. I'm not going to release the area where I saw the chickens, but
Yeah.
there's definitely some people with chickens in Chatham.
Really? Well, with COVID, they probably did well with the eggs.
Yeah.
I mean, self-sufficiency. I self-sustaining. I mean, I think people. I wonder if anybody's harvested the garlic yet. Mine's looking a little rough. I might have to harvest garlic.
Yeah.
Tell me if you've harvested your garden.
Tracy says, "Who cares if it's well maintained?"
Exactly.
And Henry, it's because we live in the country. We don't care. Right?
Okay. Well, I used to live in a number of cities. And I didn't care either. But I guess it depends on. Yeah.
Oh, wait. We got a fact check here. It is legal to have chickens in the city.
Oh, thanks, Becky. Is there a limit to how many? There must be. You can't have more than 2 or 4. But what about the noise in the morning? Because that can be a little loud. Right?
Yeah. Interesting. The Titanic only took 3 to 4 years to build, and those condos take 10 or more years.
I compare the location. I mean, I know the location obviously, and it seems like an amazing location. As long as with the Thames there, we don't have any sinkage or
Yeah.
crackage of foundation. But I'm
Well,
sure
it's been 10 years. We'd know by now.
Do you know what's taken off the record? Do you know what's taken 10 years? Like seriously, was there construction problems or water problems or something?
I just don't know. I don't know. I'm not even going to speculate.
Have there been any other new rental developments in Chatham in those 10 years beside this that you could rent out a brand new apartment?
No, I really don't. Well, I do know there's some geared to income housing that's been not an apartment building, but I do know that the municipality has just put in play kind of like a discount on uh, you know, permits and fees and even water lines and hydro lines
Mm-hmm.
for new builders that are going to build apartment complexes.
Mm-hmm.
Right, there's some sort of discount and waiving of some fees for them if they build a certain amount of floors and a certain amount of apartments. And I believe they've been getting a little bit of good feedback and people wanting to participate in that program to build. So that's kind of incentive.
We could learn from other. I think I've told you we finished 36 beds. We're building another 24 beds. We're going to start in a month out east, and it's such a seamless, easy process that it's it's there's no friction. Everybody's happy, and as opposed to all the restrictions we have here. And I think that's one of the barriers we continue to have.
Uh, Jonathan North, turn those condos into low income. We are in need. Jonathan, it's a little bit different, and when you're paying for all the condos, and you have to get some money back. Let's see here. If you have more, we're still on the chickens.
I love that.
If you have more than 6 chickens without a permit, the city may issue a $95 citation per chicken. Chicken coops have to be kept at least 25 feet away from the residence.
Wow.
Interesting.
And this
$95 citation per chicken.
This has to be Chatham, Ken. It's not just Chatham. It's like Blenheim would be the same. Ridgetown, I assume. Wow,
Possibly,
Becky,
yeah.
thank you for that. I wonder how many people do have chickens. Becky, do you have chickens?
It'd be amazing at this point if she didn't.
Or she's got easy access to the bylaws.
Yeah.
I wonder about that because I mean they can get noisy. I mean I think a noisy chicken is a lot tougher than an RV parked across the street.
Oh yeah. Oh look it. Yes, she does have chickens. Awesome.
That's awesome.
That's very cool. You got bees. You don't got any chickens.
No, I'm too lazy to have animals because you have to take incredibly great care, and bees take care of you, so it's a great thing. Yeah, I just discovered them 3 years ago again, and I think I've told you at the Wildflower Bee Farm where I found out from a neighbor today he was out pulling this stuff in his field, and I said, "What are you pulling?" He said, "Well, I'm pulling this seed that's growing from grain that's on your property." I said, "What grain?" He said, "Well, it's canola. Look at all the canola." I said, "I don't have any canola." I said, "I used my app and it said it's some kind of mustard thing." He said, "No, that's canola. You got canola." So I guess I got all this canola that just volunteer canola. The bees love it. The bees, you walk in there and the bees are all buzzing, and then you walk underneath the sumac tree and you think you're sitting in a hive. The bees are going crazy, so they're loving it. And
very cool.
Wildlife's coming back, and pretty excited.
Yeah. And you're loving that app. You've been using that app for a little while now.
I have, but I guess I mislabeled canola as some kind of rare mustard seed. So I've got to cross-check my facts. But I was fascinated to read about it, and this canola's come up, and I somehow it got in the field. So hey,
okay,
love it. So I do. I love that kind of stuff. Oh, Becky doesn't have chickens.
She doesn't have chickens, so we got fact check there. But get this is even funnier.
What's that?
Nicole was okay. This isn't from Nicole. I thought I just heard on the radio this morning when the mayor was on saying they're going to talk about the chickens being allowed in urban areas up to 6 chickens, but no roosters. Didn't know it was already allowed. That's actually interesting, all this chicken talk.
Well,
that's a lot of chicken talk.
It's self-sufficiency because if you have chickens, right, you get protein, you have a garden. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one thing that maybe we've started to think about because of COVID. Businesses will do that. And I'm also interested to know if anybody started more of the home delivery type businesses. I heard that I think Sobeys is going to start some online delivery service. I don't know if we can do it in our community. Do you know if that's available in Chatham or Blenheim?
I don't know if the grocery delivery is too much of a thing locally.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Let's see here. Whoa, this could help you out. Canola used to have a different name.
I know we don't. It was a lousy name.
It was a lousy name.
It was. They
That's
had a
awesome.
lousy name for it.
So, Henry, have you been out this week? Have you done anything? Gone
I've
anywhere?
been out. I've been out shopping a little bit and planning more, and still a little concerned. I'm a little less optimistic about the long term when all the government programs stop. I'm a little concerned, as we were talking about, the $40,000 loan for small business isn't available to small businesses who need it. The people who don't have employees but hire family or work themselves, they're in trouble. I'm also concerned about the farm labor issue where farmers are getting ripped for housing, and we still have places where we can't harvest things. And I know a lot of farmers, and that's not good. So, and most farmers I know take very good care and work very hard to make sure the people that they bring in are taken care of. So that concerns me a little bit. So I'm a little more pessimistic about that kind of stuff because I'm worried about the next 4 to 5 months.
Yeah, I myself I have the feeling that it hasn't hit us the actual impact that shutting everything down actually had. And if you look at Windsor, how many places, I mean, if they keep on not being allowed to open and people start spending their money elsewhere, let's just say, for example, they already are. We already know people from other areas are coming to Chatham, Kent that are from Windsor to spend a little money to have, kind of some sense of normalcy. If that continues, that means they're not even buying takeout as much as they did or going to their local McDonald's. And even though McDonald's is a massive chain, I mean, you still have a bunch of employees working there that are local. All these places kind of get hit a little bit more for the normalcy, just 45 minutes or Tilbury, 25 minutes down the road. So I think I really don't believe, and especially people that have maybe missed paychecks, over a period of time, most people, it's hard to recover after missing 2 paychecks. For many people who had to miss 4, 5, may not be working, may not be making the money they used to have, or the dual incomes that get cut in half, right?
We don't know how many people aren't going to be able to go back to work, period, right?
Right.
How many businesses won't? And people rejoice that a restaurant opens at 50% capacity, and all I think about is the money they're losing.
Yeah.
And then they say 80% capacity. Well, you're still losing money.
Mm-hmm.
You don't make money till you get over 90% in the restaurant business. Yeah. So, I feel I'm concerned. And the other thing, maybe the good side is if we could advertise, if you're in an RV, do you want to take number 2 highway or number 3 highway or the 401? So maybe there's going to be a resurgence of interest in taking number 2 and number 3, which used to be the main roads if you wanted to go, say, Windsor to Toronto. And maybe there'll be new, route planning where you take a tour in your RV from Toronto to Windsor, but you take number 3 or you take number 2 and you go through all the small towns and you enjoy your trip. And I think there's going to be an opportunity to cater to more camping and RV, because what I heard today is they can't keep campers on the lot. People are going in it. And if people are going to spend $50,000 to $100,000 for one of these things, they're not going to flip that behavior in a week. They're
right.
not start flying again. And then what happens to the airline industry, right? I think we're just seeing, as you said, the beginning of some structural change.
Absolutely. Let's hit one last one here. What are your thoughts on building houses on brownfield land? Now, if Chatham Kent was a Toronto or a New York, they have an ability for some reason in those areas to clean up a brownfield in 10 minutes. But what about that? Areas, brownfields that may have been contaminated at one point of rebuilding.
Well, I've had a little experience in Niagara Falls. We took a car dealership and we turned it into an office building. And I can tell you that the cost and the energy to do that versus building something for this, we actually kept, I think, the roof and one wall, and the rest was new. Now, it's not the greatest way to build a building because you still have to build all the infrastructure. This is a fairly small building. I think it's about 20,000 square feet. So you had to do all that kind of thing.
Not that small. Not that small of a building.
It's a great building, but I'm just saying we later thought about, and that was one of the requirements because we have a federal tenant there, that we had to do brownfield development. It's very difficult and it's expensive. And so as a investor or builder, if you had a chance, you'd want to build it on a clean property because you don't have the environmental to deal with and all those other things. But I think we should use them for other things. I think of solar. I think of community gardens. You can bring in soil if it's not contaminated. You can clean them up. You can do all kinds of things in these. And I think I think I've driven around even our community here in Blenheim. We've got some lots that could be used for that. But again, it takes that opportunity. How do you do that? Where's the capital going to come from? And I think there needs to be that kind of investment by our community.
Okay, the Opportunity Villages Community Land Trust are looking at building 600, 700, 800 square foot homes off Taylor and Memory, New Grand Ave. And that is small. Those are the tiny homes.
Yeah.
So, I kind of like tiny homes, but I don't think they're a great long-term solution to anything. I think it's hard to live in a tiny home,
Well,
or would be.
my opinion on that, Cheryl-Ann, is that they should be done by contracting to the private sector, because anytime the government gets involved, those tiny 600 square foot homes will cost the same as a 2,000 square foot home.
Yeah.
You calculate all the costs. So, the building costs vary depending on how and where they're done. But I think we don't do enough about really taking the money that we have and doing the best job we can and asking the people what they want. There are many people who want to live in a 700. I mean, there are people who live in a 400 square foot, $400,000 condo in Toronto. So, I mean, but the question is, what's this going to look like? And I just think if you open it up to competition and you get the private sector involved, I think you can get more bang for your buck.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we just cracked the 1 hour mark again. That happens really quick, eh?
It was fun talking to you, Ben. I'm sorry I'm not as jacked up. I just worried about the next three months for a lot of people who can't work from home and who can't go back to restaurants and who can't work as waiters or waitresses or cooks or chefs or whatever their business is in, and how are we going to help? How are we going to help them?
They're saying 130,000 to 180,000 for these 6, 7, and 800 square foot homes.
Oh my goodness, Cheryl.
That would be a little bit.
Not in my world.
No, I don't know how that would even happen.
I'm speechless.
Wow. So, hey guys, if you guys want to earn a pizza here and possibly win one, we'll pick a name after. If to Constantino's Pizzeria, Pizza and Wings in Chatham on LaCroix Street, all you have to do is comment somewhere in here, and you will be entered to possibly win. So that, and let's talk about PIreporters.com. Henry, do you want to give a little rundown about PI Reporters?
Oh, well, just quickly, we had an article this week about actually the city's big $200,000 idea for small business and what we thought of that. We did some investigating there. And on the other side, I did a short article on 5 things I think local government can do to help small business, more of a long-term thing other than, giving them a grand or two. What can we do policy-wise? And that's there too. Just you go to PIreporters.com, 30 days, lowercase, on the days, just the number 30, and it's free for 30 days, and read the articles. We do them every week, and we are doing a couple of things looking at. One thing we're looking at now is, how do these folks come up with these ideas? How do they think that $200,000 to all the small business, give them a little hand, that's going to help solve the COVID problem? So we're going to figure out their backgrounds. What experience did they bring to the job? How did they learn about this incredible idea of how $1,000 can beat?
So there's actually an article being written about that?
Well, we're doing a little investigating about their background. So before you get into politics, how successful were you in your life in business? Because now you're spewing advice to all of us about COVID and doing these great things. And we're a little concerned when you take $6.4 million in the last month and dole it out to things we don't need. And when it comes to citizens in the community, you have no money.
Yeah.
We find that kind of incredible.
And again, you guys can watch Henry and I. Are we going to be back next Monday as well?
Yeah,
Henry?
let's do it. I'm sorry I was a little under the tiredness today. I was out playing with the bees all day, so I'm a little burnt out.
So Henry will be back. We will be next week is going to be our most optimistic show ever. How
totally
about
optimistic next week.
Nothing but optimism. All right. Henry, thank you very much again.
Thank
and
you,
hey, everybody watching, please hit that share button, like, comment, and give us some feedback. Actually, if you guys could, let us know if you know somebody that would want to come on and talk about their business and how they have, handled COVID and how are they planning on handling it in the future. So we would love to have somebody on. Let's have somebody on next week, Henry.
Let's do a guest.
And do that.
You got a couple ideas. The other thing
Yeah.
is, if people can help me out, go to my Instagram account, Wildflower Bee Farm, and give me advice on how I'm messing up pictures, and give me some advice and follow along as we grow with the bees. How's that?
Wildflower Bee Farm.
Yeah, you can find it.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Thank you very much and have a great night.
Have a good one. Thanks, guys.